Shalom, shalom, brothers and sisters. Our congregation, CHOKMAH BINAH, also known as D.C.B, is hosting our second annual Unity Weekend. Come and join us once again for a day of celebration to the Most High. Unity Shabbat Kun, we must rise. Israel, we must rise. We're at Restoration Plaza under the Big Tent, 1368 Fulton Street, Brooklyn, New York. Once again, we're at Restoration Plaza under the Big Tent, 1368 Fulton Street, Brooklyn, New York. When? On May 26, 2018. Once again, when? On May 26, 2018. Memorial Day weekend. Start time, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Once again, start time, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Please be prompt. For more info, please feel free to contact us at 347-622-9090. Once again, 347-622-9090. There are many specially invited guests, so you won't want to miss out. Don't forget to bring the entire family out so that they can have a day of enjoyment and praise to the Most High. Last year, we had a great time meeting family, meeting new family, meeting family that we haven't seen for years. So Israel, come out and enjoy yourself. Come out and give the glory to the Most High. Come out and give the upliftment to the name of the Creator amongst Israelites from different places, from different states, from different countries. So Israel, come out and support. Once again, we're at Restoration Plaza under the Big Tent, 1368 Fulton Street, Brooklyn, New York. When? On May 26, 2018. That is the Memorial Day weekend. Start time, 11 a.m. sharp. 11 a.m. sharp, Israel. Please be there on time, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. For more info, please feel free to contact us at 347-622-9090. Once again, 347-622-9090. Come out and enjoy yourself. Come out and be with your brothers and sisters. Come out and praise the Creator of heaven and earth. And come out and just have a good time and uplift in the name of the Most High. Once again, that number is 347-622-9090. You can also reach out to us on Facebook at CHOKMAH BINAH. Once again, at CHOKMAH BINAH. Or on Instagram at CHOKMAH BINAH. On Instagram at CHOKMAH BINAH. Or you could donate to us if you like to on PayPal at info@baitdcb.org. info@baitdcb.org. Or you can reach out to us to our YouTube channel, D.C.B channel. Shalom, shalom, and hope to see everyone there. Everyone, have a blessed day. Today we're here with one of my brothers, Chief Naphtali Ben Don, brother who's done a lot of work in this community, and I'm happy to have him here with us doing this interview. How are you, my brother?
I'm well. Praise Yah. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. So I want to start out with first asking you about your beginnings. This way of life. Were you did you come into this way of life at a young age, or were you born in this way of life?
I was born into it. My grandfather, you know, he was part of what they call a black Jew back then. You know, my mother was born, she wasn't born into law, but she got into it as she got older, at a younger age. She just gave me and my sister Israelite names, and, you know, I think she started going into a Shabbat and stuff like that. And, you know, when she was a young girl, my grandfather would take them, and my Uncle Earl and Uncle Troy, they would go to BINAH and stuff like that, and, you know, with all of his kids, because he had quite a bit of kids, but they would all go to, you know, he was taking the BINAH and stuff like that, and all of them remember going there and stuff like that. So that was the beginnings. Yeah, that was the beginning. So I remember my first place of worship is as a youngster being BINAH on Buffalo in Sterling. My mother said that we went to a shop for a little while, but, you know, I was a baby. I don't remember, but, you know, I remember being 4 and 5 running around inside in BINAH.
Yeah. Okay, so what do you have vivid memories of Ben Azakim, or is it?
Definitely. You know, as a youngster, there were individuals there that always had a strong impression upon me. But the main person I think that had an impression upon me as a youngster was Chief Simeon. He was like, you know, he was larger than life. Like, you know, he walking around with the fez, he had the big belt on, and he was always in the camp, you know what I mean? And, you know, there was a lot of brothers, Chief Naphtali, Prince of Paul, Chief Amos, but, you know, there were people that were constantly in the camp all the time, you know what I mean? And he was one of those he was just one of those big figures like that, you know, right. So, and I do remember seeing the Prince from time to time, right. And, you know, his presence was kind of scary because you see the way that people respected him. Prince Jaco, when he walked through the door, like, you had to just stand still. And when he came through, like he came out of cab or something like that, you know what I mean? Yeah, you felt it. You know, you felt that whole influence that he had amongst the people, you know what I mean? So, and I remember one time, I don't know how I wound up being there, but there was a brother that was getting reprimanded, and it was in a meeting, you know, and it was like all men's meeting or whatever, and we was walking through, and his brother came to the meeting drunk, and he was told to get up and sit down, and get up and sit down, and Prince was making him do it, you know what I'm saying, in front of everybody, because I think, you know, I don't know, it was a violation, I guess, if you came to a meeting drunk, but yeah, you saw Prince. It's the first time I saw Prince like flex his muscle like that, so, right. Yeah.
Okay, so you stayed there till about what age?
I can't recall. I remember just not going back anymore. I knew later on in life the reason why we didn't go back, but I just remember just not going back to the camp, seeing people from the camp, like, you know, you see Prince of Rishadai sometimes, because a lot of us lived in the area, you know what I mean? So I lived in Crown Heights, a lot of the people lived in Crown Heights close to the camp. But yeah, we just never went back, and coming to find out later, it had a lot to do with Chief Amos and Principal and Chief Nathaniel and those brothers, and Chief Avinia, Prince Shem, them all leaving, you know, and, you know, then a lot of people were making exits after they left as well. So, you know, a lot of the things that were going on in camp, so we never went back. I think after that, there was like a lull, probably like a 2-year lull, and then I was going to Quahal when I was 9 years old, and that's the first time I was exposed to my teacher, Moreh Hoshea. This is the son of Cohen Levy Ben Levy, and this man was just, he was different. I say that first. He was a different person from what I was because, you know, you used to being around soldiers and certain figures, whatever the case may be, and, you know, guys that were from the street. Not that he wasn't, but, you know, he was a vivid character, and he could teach anybody anything, you know, and it wasn't just about, you know, and I'm glad I sat under him because he wasn't just a person that, he had the ability to bring the best out of you, you know what I mean, without controlling you. And taught me Hebrew. He taught me how to teach. You know, my first Maftier's portion was under his tutelage. The first time I ever taught anything was under his tutelage, you know what I mean? So he put me on that path. And it was just amazing because, you know, he didn't try to control my thinking, you know, but he wanted me to expand my mind and teach the Lord the way the, you know, the Torah is and the portions the way they were. So he would always bring that out. You know, he wanted you to think for yourself. Wow. You know, and that's the type of person he was. He will always say, you already know the answer, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Wow. Like, you know, and you think about it, you know the answer without him trying to control, or, you know, trying to have control over your brain power or your mind. Right. Yeah.
Then after Quahal, what happened after that? You stayed, you say you got there, you was there 9 years old.
Yeah, I was there 9, and, you know, I stayed a couple of years there, but at that time, too.
Was Moreh Mishael there already?
Moreh Mishael wasn't there at all. Moreh Mishael.
Who was the main teacher there at that time?
It was Moreh Hoshea. It was Moreh Hoshea, and it wasn't like a big place at all. You had Moreh Hoshea, Boaz, obviously. Adon Boaz because he ran the place, Zaquin Boaz. There was another brother named, he was a Josephite brother. forgot the brother's name, man. But he was there. He would always have a turban and a lot of earrings on and stuff like that.
Light skin brother.
Yeah.
Manasseh?
Brother Manasseh. He was there at the time. Like, he was like the front gatekeeper, stuff like that, collector type of stuff. Yeah, and you had visitors from time to time, but you just had that mainstay of individuals that would go there. Then at one point, you know, I was in between that, you know, teachings were being held after brothers left Buffalo. Teachers were being held on Nostrand. They got a place on Nostrand and Sterling and stuff like that. So a lot of feast days would happen there. But that was like only for a little while. They didn't really last too long. You know what I mean? So a couple of years. But that's when I was first exposed to Maury Mishael. Okay. This is before we actually went to Kohol. Because Maury Mishael was there, his children, all his kids.
So Nostrand and Sterling was before you went to Kohol?
Before I went to Kohol. But the span of time was like, you know, we left. I was probably 6 when everybody left BINAH. But when I was at when Nostrand was there, I was probably like 7, 8. Yeah. And then there was so many people going back and forth, I think, that left over there after, you know, brothers had left. But I remember I was just the young man there, whatever the case may be, and, you know, teachings was like in a small upstairs place, nice place, whatever, but, you know, it was small, but it fit what was needed. You know, brothers was there, they held it down.
Who was the main teacher at that particular, do you remember?
I remember the person that taught the most was probably Maury Mishael, that I can vividly remember. But I remember Chief Simeon coming through. So, you know, it was like after brothers left there, a lot of people was just, you know, so I remember him coming through. I remember Chief Nathaniel teaching, but the Chief Nathaniel was mainly the reader. He was mainly the reader, but I remember him teaching. So those are the people I remember teaching, like, on a regular basis, like, you know, that I can vividly remember. Right. It was Maury Mishael teaching, and I remember Chief Nathaniel teaching, reading and teaching. Oh, reading. But he was consistently the reader. Wow. But I remember, you know, him teaching. I remember Maury Mishael teaching and being exposed to his style of teaching, right, in that level. And then after Kohol, I think we were just back on Lincoln Place, right, and at that point, you know, I think it was more gathering than teaching, and Maury Mishael was the one that would take all the kids upstairs. You know, he didn't want to stand around in the street corner, so he took all the kids upstairs and did stuff with them. You know, either he did Hebrew teachings or something like that, but he would just take the kids and just be like, you know. So he had always that spirit of teaching, and he has, I got from him, like, you know, he has a vivid understanding of the law, and I say that because he was able to paint clear pictures when he taught. You know what I mean? So he's an adult, but he can still, and he talks like an adult. He didn't talk to us like we were kids. He talked, you know, the same way he talks like now when he teaches. That's the way he talked to us when we were young. You know what I mean? So it was very vivid, and, you know.
Oh, he came to Lincoln also?
He was at Lincoln. Him, his children. Mainly he was like Eliyahu, I would see, but like all of the younger ones wasn't there. But I know Eliyahu was out there, so I mean the brothers were just conversion on Lincoln, because we didn't have a spot. Nobody had a spot at that time, and, you know, and Lincoln was central. So yeah, he was out there, and, you know, he was teaching, man. He would take us on Shabbats and, you know, make sure he had time with us, and, you know, either teach us stuff in Hebrew and teach us Torah and stuff like that, and, you know, but very vivid. You know what I mean? Very vivid. And I'm a person that was attracted to that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I was always somebody that liked absorbing knowledge, even as a young person. Right. So, you know, the fact that you take your time out, I appreciate that. You know, you taking your time out to teach somebody something to elevate them. Right. You know, and, you know, he made my picture, especially concerning how he thinks in the Hebrew and stuff like that, a lot vivid. And it started at a young age as far as that concerned. But yeah. Back to Maury Mishael, though, he was like, he was the first, and he was the first person that I was exposed to from Shabbat as far as teaching is concerned, like, you know, that whole school. And I haven't met his father at the time. You know, I know that his father just taught everybody, and a lot of people was his teacher. But everybody said that's Cohen Levy's son. Like, you know, I'm like, okay, you know.
I don't know.
Yeah. I know of him, right? I know of his impact and his greatness, whatever. But I haven't met him. You know what I mean? So, but I was a young guy, and he just put us on that path, man. And you know, Moray Hoshea, God bless his memory, he had an impact on a lot of people. And, you know, regardless of what, you know, this man was blessed with a talent to convey messages and teach. You know what I mean? If you got him, you know, it was vivid, it was raw, you know, he did it with comedy, he did it with all types of stuff, but he was a teacher. You know what I mean? So he put me on that path, and, you know, God bless his memory.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then after that, I remember coming around on Lincoln, right, when we were in Prince Paul's apartment.
Right.
And you took that journey, and we were from the apartment to the backyard,
yeah,
courtyard to the park,
yeah, to
even Sarah's basement.
Yeah.
How was that? How do you remember that? How was that little time for you?
Well, you know, as you know, I was consistently there. You know, I was one of the first faces you met.
Right.
When you came in the door, first face that a lot of people met, because I was just there. You know what I'm saying? I was, you know, at the young age, just being consistently loyal. And, you know, it wasn't easy. You know, it wasn't easy because I was exposed to all the fights, all the separations, you know, trying to get things together. You know, I saw a lot of people come and go. I saw the real, I saw the fake, you know what I mean? So you just see a lot of that in transition, you know, and you can see all of the next step. And it's good that you're able to endure it, but it's still painful in a way because a lot of people, good people are not here no more. A lot of separation happened, but it's our experience, is what we had to deal with. You know what I mean? And I wouldn't change it because, you know, we were in the park and we had to deal with, you know, people may curse us out because we're saying something, but at the same time, you're in the park and teaching and people listening to you. You know what I mean? So that was a great thing. You know, when you go to the basement, we had a place, thank God for Ima Sarah for opening it up. And this was even at a time where she wasn't too agreeable with this way of life. You know what I mean? She wasn't against it, but you know, she wasn't coming to services, but she still opened up her doors, you know what I mean, for us, and blessed us with a place to consistently have teachings. And then, you know, from there, you know, I remember even being in the house. We was at Prince Jeriel house at one time. Prince of Port's house, then consistently Prince of Port's house, so we needed to have an alternate because, you know, he opened up his house and then, you know, Ima Sarah opened up her house. But, you know, we had to get a place, you know what I mean, to really make this happen. Right. You know, and that happened brief, but it happened on St. John's in Nostrum, you know, when BINAH opened up. Right. In the early 90s.
And what was that experience like?
To be honest with you, I think that some of us were ready and some of us weren't. I think that sometimes you have to make sure that you know who you're working with, and you know, there's nothing wrong with understanding where people are with certain things. I think oftentimes what we do is, you know, we try to get together for the sake that we all Israel, but we all don't see things the same. So knowing that, you know, you have to talk. You know, you have to have a humble spirit because this is not about you, it's about the people. Now, granted, we were so happy to be there. It was cool. The congregation started to grow. But those things that we didn't put in check came back to haunt us. And it caused a lot of separation and problems. You know, so it was a smart thing that a lot of brothers decided to make a move. You know what I mean? It wasn't because of a lack of love of people, but we know that, you know, there was a mission, you know, and that's at that time I was trying to work. I was getting a lot of brothers through tech, you know what I mean, just teaching. My brother, I think he's a chief now, Uriah Ben Yehuda, came from Tech, and he was talking to brothers, and a lot of brothers from Tech started just coming through. You know what I mean? And then, you know, the impression that we were making, it had to be a positive impression, because, you know, people coming back to their families, stuff like that, you know, you got to have the right representation of the Most High. And I think that some of us were ready for that and some of us wasn't. So, yeah.
Yeah, because I remember that part, being up there and then seeing you come through with some brothers and then bringing a bunch of other brothers.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's a blessing to see that some of those brothers are still around.
Amen.
20 years later, still doing Torah, strong brothers. And that in itself, I think you even brought a teacher at one point.
Yeah.
Doing Torah.
Yeah, a teacher. He was
It was the Black Study Club, right?
No, we actually started. I was the president. I started as the vice president of the Black Awareness Club in Tech.
The Black Awareness, right?
Yeah, and then I was president the next year, my senior year. But there was an organization started by a brother named Gerald Carey. You know, I think his parents were African too. Right. But he wanted to start something to, you know, help mentor and motivate, you know, young black males. And it was called Keepers of the Brotherhood. Right. And, you know, you always need an advisor, a teacher, somebody that can be a part of it. And at the time, Mr. McCullum, you know, he was a physics teacher, I believe, in the school, in Tech. And he was the one that decided to be the advisor, whatever the case may be. And he was getting heavy in the scripture. He started learning about himself, knowing that he was an Israelite, but he was going towards the 125 way, you know. So, and I was, what I was, you know, we weren't with the New Testament. Right. So with that, brothers started coming. I started teaching a group of brothers. But then, you know, I couldn't be in charge of KOB after Gerald Carey left, because I had my plate full with Black Awareness. You know, so Uriah was in charge of that. You know what I mean? And he became very good at it with teaching scriptures. Like, as soon as he came to teachings, his mind was blown. You know what I mean? After hearing Deuteronomy 28, and he came back just teaching that same information. You know what I mean? And everybody he was talking to, they gravitated to it. You know what I mean? So, and I was sitting in the classes when he was teaching. I was impressed. You know what I mean? So, but me and Mr. McCullum had a talk. And he was like, well, you know, what's the problem with those brothers and stuff like that, whatever the case may be. I said, listen, you know, and at that time it was real. You know, that's the time that we were being threatened. They were talking about year 2000, they're going to kill us, and the UFOs are going to come, and all types of stuff, and Christ is going to come back and kill all you rebels and stuff like that, whatever. And, you know, we had proof of them cursing out old ladies in the street and stuff like that. So I'm like, you know, this is not what represents the Most High. So, and I told him about that. I said, you know, we got to represent Yah in the right manner. So if we don't represent him to the highest extent, then he won't bless us at all. So he took that and he was like, you're right. You know what I mean? And then I got further as far as showing him in the New Testament, you know, the level of contradictions and how it's impossible to believe in that and be a Torah keeper at the same time. So, yeah, he understood. And he came through.
And he came through.
Yeah.
The YOY.
YOY.
What do you remember about the YOY?
So,
what did it stand for?
YOY stood for the youth of Yakad, right? Because you were Benazakin Yakad. Right. Yakad meaning unity, right? So, YOY is, you know, we really wanted to have an army. You know what I'm saying? Because we was like, okay, listen, these guys talking about they're going to do this. We got to be ready, whatever. And we were young guys. You know what I mean? So we wanted to have an army. So we started working on that whole platform. We started with same shirts and, you know, we started with fatigues, turbans, stuff like that. And the whole issue was we had the organization and the older guys didn't. You know what I mean? And I think that a lot of it, though, you know, we did some good work, even though we were just in the hip hop and a lot of different things, but we did some good work. We started being secure in the camp. We would post up in front of the camp, make sure that, you know, if a stranger came, they get patted down, stuff like that, you know. But I think that those people who weren't part of us they were jealous, you know, even in the camp. I think that a lot of people that saw that we were trying to form something, every time you try to form something, there'll always be somebody there trying to break it down. You know what I mean? So I think that as we were there, people that came through that weren't a part of it were trying to undermine it. You know what I mean? So that caused a lot of that rift too. You know what I mean? Because we took sides. We had support from certain brothers, and we didn't have support from certain brothers. You know what I'm saying? So. But as I said, I wouldn't change it. You know what I mean? I wouldn't change it, but because, you know, we were trying to build something, and, you know, it's rough. We try to be consistent, but we were just trying to make it happen and build. Right.
Yeah. So then after St. John's and Notion, what was the journey after that?
The journey was, we were back on Lincoln Place. It was like 4 of us, right? And what's weird with that was I didn't tell the brothers that, you know, because all of them were already part of YAH at that time. You know, Moray Yiftat, Samal Zakar, Chief Uriah, you know what I'm saying? The old Rocket Fatigues doing that. So I didn't pull anybody out after we left. You know, after the disagreement and we had left, I didn't pull anybody out. Because I was never a guy that wanted to influence people to make decisions. I wanted them to make decisions on their own. You know what I'm saying? I think it would be wrong for me to say, yo, don't go up there no more. Like, so the day that we all bailed and we wasn't there on that Shabbat, I think I was just told, like, yo, your people's is upset with you, man. They you know, and they all came on the block like, yo, what happened? So, you know, we explained to them the position that we're taking, you know what I mean? And they were able to make the decision on their own, you know what I mean? So I didn't want it to be a thing where, because I never liked that in Israel. I never liked people who would try to control other people's thinking, you know what I mean? I think with me is like, you know, you learn, I can bring you here, but the relationship that you need with the Most High, you got to make that on your own, you know what I mean? And it ain't up to me to try to control the way you think and, you know, to manage your understanding. You know, I don't believe in that. You know what I mean? So even at a young age, so yeah, we were just in the wilderness for a minute. We were back in the park. We were back in Emasara's basement for a minute. But a blessing came. A blessing came in the form of Maurice Burchett, which is Principal's uncle. You know, and I was there. I mean, we were just there figuring out what we were gonna do. Great elder in Israel, teacher in Israel, great pioneer in Israel, Nabi Raphael, you know, he had a place for sale. It was Old Bay Shalom. It was like one of the first places that was in Brooklyn that people were teaching out of. Wow. Yeah, so he had the place for sale, and it was dirt cheap. Principal's uncle, Maurice Burchett, was willing to buy it, right? For Prince. And Prince was explaining, like, you know, I got people, I just left a place, you know, I need to get a place, whatever. And we had a couple of $100 from YAH events that we were doing. So we got it. He bought the place. We paid rent. It's not like he bought the place outright and we owned it, but, you know, we had to pay rent, but we had a place to call our own, and we worked there, open. You know, I was there often, day and night, cuts, wow. Just working. At the time, Moray O'Shea was working with us to build the place up. Yeah, we were just working tirelessly to make sure that place opened up, man, and, you know, and it was a major accomplishment. And I think people were even shocked that we were able to just leave and, you know, get a place so soon. But it was the blessing of the Most High God. You know what I mean? So it was a great thing. It was a great thing. I think Shema opened his doors 1994. December 1994. Right. And that was a great thing.
That was a great thing.
Yeah.
The SOG, how did that come about?
Well, I think it was just us trying to do the same thing that we did
With
YOY, but we weren't, you know, kids anymore like that. You know what I mean? So I'm 20 years old. Other brothers are young. We young, but we not, you know, we not babies like that. So, so we wanted to take the next step and take it to another level. You know, I gave it the name BINAH Elohim, which is the sons of God, but you know, SOG would be like the slogan for the English, you know. And then I, you know, created a logo because at that time, you know, we had the Shema logo, which was an ancient Hebrew, and yeah, we had the 2 lions on the side and stuff like that. But I put the S, the logo, and the G, and creating that, and I gave the order its name.
Did you create the original SOG logo?
Yeah. Did
you paint that original, or was that Hebron?
I painted the original.
The original with the 2 lions? The
2 lions, yeah. So one was a set of lions that had the commandments in modern Hebrew, and the other one had the set of lions with the commandments in ancient Hebrew, just letters. You know, we just painted it on wood, and it was fly for the time, you know what I mean? It was cool. Wrote the 7 principles.
You remember the 7 principles?
Yeah. Yehovah is God, there is none else. He is God and there is no other. Principle 2, to fear God and keep his commandments is my whole purpose in life. Principle number 3, I must love and honor God. Principle number 4, I must love and honor my superiors. Principle number 5, I must love and honor my brothers. Principle number 6, I must love and honor myself. Principle number 7, I must protect the name of God and every God-fearing, law-abiding man, woman, and child of the nation of Israel.
That's right.
Yeah. So we started that, and everybody was instrumental. Yourself, Captain Hebron at the time, Chief Nathaniel, Benjamin, who was really like the drill instructor. You know, he was the one that was able to give us the drills in Hebrew, and we were doing our drills in Ivrit. You know what I mean? So, yeah. But I think, you know, we started something cool. We started something good. But you know, I think a lot of people didn't respect it. And I'm not talking about people from the outside, I think people from the inside. You know, respect its potential, I would say. You know what I mean? Like, you know, we were trying to do something great. And, you know, oftentimes, you know, we get hung up on ego and who's in charge and this stuff like that, whatever the case may be. So, but SOG was a great thing. You know what I mean? We had some impact, you know, so, you know.
What about the third eye? How did you come up with the idea that we needed a publication?
I was heavily influenced by the black Muslims, you know, the reason why is because I just, you know, I have to give them the credit of being one of the long-lasting, structured organizations. You know, the Nation of Islam, they've done it. You know, the teachings of Elijah Muhammad, the impact that Malcolm had, Minister Louis Farrakhan, you know, they were able to gather a lot of people because they were always out there. You know what I mean? And they had their own publication. And most organizations, the Panthers had their own publication. You know, the Nation of Islam, before they had Muhammad Speaks, and when Farrakhan took over, they had the final call. You know, so having a publication, your own form of media to get your message out was very important. You know, so I started working on creating a newspaper, just figuring out how to do it because I was always into stuff like that anyway. Then find out, you know, my niche wasn't just a niche, but it was a talent because my grandfather, who I never met, my father's father, he was a graphic artist and he did work like that. You know what I mean? And I had to find that out after I just started working on the paper. So it was something that was just in my DNA to make this happen. And I started pushing it and you know, trying to make it happen with the articles. And you know, we had a lot of people writing articles at the time. You know, Maury Abdiel, you know, he started working on it and started writing articles. And anybody that I can get that could submit an article, you know what I'm saying? People were writing articles that could write, you know. And it was a hard start. You know, penmanship wasn't, I mean, not penmanship, getting the information in always wasn't the best. Sometimes the editing and stuff like that, whatever, because we were kind of doing everything by ourselves. Having to get the paper printed, pick it up, and try to get it distributed. But I think what we failed at is with the first of the publication is that it wasn't everybody's thing, right? Everybody wasn't involved in the process. So, you know, what you do know when you have a movement, you know, sometimes you have to make sure that people understand what your movement is about, and that they don't come in with an attitude like, I can do certain things and I don't have to do certain things. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, if you're a Jehovah's Witness, you're going to stand outside on the streets with those pamphlets. So, you know, you're going to do that. And that was just part of the makeup of certain organizations, that when you were part of that organization, this is part of your obligation, fundraising or outreach or whatever the case may be. But a lot of the things that we did, it was like, oh, that's their thing, or that's his thing. You know what I'm saying? And it began to be a strain on you, because everybody has their life, their family, stuff that they have to do, and you know, you always want to make sure it stays consistent, but it becomes difficult because the money's not there now, and then, you know, you want the help to push it. So we always want to make that change. So we actually had 2 intervals of it. We had the first one, which was all black and white, and then a couple of years later, when we came back to the camp after the fire, we had the color version. You know, we brought out the paper again, and it was stronger the second time, but, you know, the same issues. You know what I'm saying? Consistency.
What inspired the Shema patch that you created? The patch and the logo that became the logo that's on the awning.
Right. The inspiration for the logo was first, you know, I was dabbling around, and you know, I made the logo, the Star of David, and I particularly made it the Star of David because of the Star of David controversy, right? So there was all the beef about you know, but made it the Star of David, put the commandments in the middle in ancient Hebrew, and wrote around it in ancient Hebrew, Shema Yisrael, Yah Eloheinu, Yah Echad, and with the 2 lions on the side, and it was the name. You know, because that was the name of the organization. He was doing Shema, you know, and plus that was Deuteronomy 6:4, one of the greatest verses in Tanakh, in Torah. And I believe don't know if that's the inspiration behind Prince naming the camp Shema, because I know we asked what our name is going to be, and he was like, it's going to be Shema. But I know the sisters, you know, they already had Princess Shekina, Princess Devorah Matt. They already was doing something where they were doing fun with Nadivia. They were always, Princess Nadivia, Mora Nadivia, were doing something where they were doing fundraising and stuff like that from, you know, their house on Lincoln, and they were doing events, and they were doing some stuff in the camp too, on St. John's, and they called it Shema, you know. So I don't know the inspiration behind the fundraising. I think they wanted to do stuff for a school or something like that. I'm not sure, but they were just started doing fundraising, selling dinners and stuff like that. And they were calling themselves Shema Yisrael. So I don't know if that was the inspiration why Prince just went on and called it Shema. But I remember that they were first calling themselves Shema before that, before we even named the camp. Yeah.
I remember also a newsletter that they had.
Yeah, I mean, they started a lot of things. I think Sister Devorah Mack, she had the shirts first, the Shema Yisrael shirts. Well, they weren't Shema Yisrael shirts. They just said, "Hero Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one." It had 2 Morgan Dollars on it. Right. You know, those are fundraiser shirts, whatever. So those are cool. You know, the black and white or black and silver shirts. So that process was already in motion. You know what I mean? They started that whole thing. Yeah, it was strong. I mean, because everybody was trying to do their part. You know what I mean? So. Right. I think we lacked synergy at that time, you know, but, you know, everybody was trying to, you know, so, you know, and you had the YAH, you had different things happening, so everybody was trying to push what they needed to do, you know what I mean, different components, but that was the inspiration. And after, I changed it from the ancient Hebrew to the modern Hebrew and transliteration. The reason why you needed the transliteration because, you know, people see it, but nobody know what it meant, you know what I mean, so... the impact was for the community. People want to see your patch. They want to say, okay, what is that? You know what I mean? What does it mean? At least they can read it. You know what I mean? And say, well, Shema Yisrael, Yehovah Eloheinu. Well, what are you saying if they say that? That means Hero Israel, Yehovah our God, Yehovah is one. So it makes it less of a mystery to people. You know, and if our job is to have an impact on the community, you know, they kind of have to understand you. You know what I mean? So that's what the patch was for, why we changed the patch up and make it a little bit more polished, you know, and more communicative to the public. Okay. Yeah.
What gave you the drive to do so many things at that young age? You know, at that time, when you're young, you're supposed to give your strength,
right?
As the Tanakh to the Most High. But what was the inspiration, the drive that made you do so much at such a young age? Because you did do a lot. You were a teacher.
Right.
You were. I mean, I remember coming around at 13, 14. You were teaching.
Right.
You know, doing events. We were doing events together. I know that you always had a creative mind.
Right.
You was a rapper. Right. Could make music, could do a bunch of things. Like, what gave you that inspiration, that drive to do so many things?
Number one, I never wanted to limit myself. You know, and sometimes it's good to limit yourself, to know what you can do and what you can't do, but I never wanted to limit myself. You know, I wanted to be able to be like, you know, hey, I can do that. You know what I mean? And, you know, I can do it and be good at it. You know what I mean? And I was, as I said, I was in Israel, but I didn't have a father in Israel. And it's kind of hard growing up in Israel, especially at the age without a father, because most of the people that you're around, they got fathers, and their fathers are there, and their father's a chief man, stuff like that. So it's difficult, and you feel it. You feel that little bit of isolation from time to time. Not with everybody, but with some of my peers. And when you're in school, you know, you always want to have your impact. You know, when you're in school and you're the only Israelite in your school and nobody knows what Israelite is, and, you know, kids is picking on you, and, you know, you can't do certain things. You can't watch the Saturday morning cartoons. Yeah, you can't watch, like, that was foreign to me, right? You know what I mean? So, not that I didn't know what Soul Train was, you know what I mean? But I couldn't watch it. You know, people like, oh, yeah, it's on Soul Train this week, whatever. I miss all of that. You know what I mean? I miss all of that stuff. You know, you couldn't eat certain things, a lot of things you just couldn't do. You know what I mean? I didn't celebrate any of the Christmas festivities or whatever, so you feel isolated, you know what I mean? And, you know, they pick on you, so you fight a lot. You know, you go through some things, you know what I mean? You get bullied, you start fighting the bullies, you know, and you have a dynamic where you want to validate, you know, yourself and what you are, you know. Most people run away, and I just decided to go head into the battle, you know what I mean? And I was young, and I wanted to be validated, you know what I mean? I would say when Dougie Fresh did All the Way to Heaven, you know what I mean? That blew my mind, my ego to the stratosphere, because I was like, yeah, there's somebody out there in some way, shape, or form representing us. You know, not that he was the model Israelite citizen or anything like that, not taking away from his decisions to do certain things, but it was something to have him there. To say anything about the Most High, and, you know, he had tablets for a chain and stuff like that, and he had a video where he's talking about the Most High. Exactly, you know what I mean? Yeah, it's these small things, you know what I mean, that validates your existence, because you no longer you're not a foreigner anymore, you know. So, and this was like when Israel was unheard of, you know what I'm saying, and you know, camps are split up, nobody's really around, so your impact is not really there, you know. So, you know, you always wanted to make an impact. You always want to make sure that you can see things, and you want to do better for your future than what people may have done for you. And it's not that what people did for you is bad, but they only going to take the baton so far. You got to take it the rest of the way. So that was my inspiration to push, because I don't know how long I got in this earth, but I want to have my impact. You know what I'm saying? I want to do good for this nation. I want to make sure that, you know, the things that need to happen in Israel happens in Israel. So.